You know, when we got to Brandy Branch, we get there and what I thought of was deep East Texas. Flooded timber, you can see that everywhere. Matted grass, there's grass on top of the water. So, and it's kind of got that clear, but a little bit brown watercolor. And a lot of times in East Texas, when you get that flooded timber, you get that tannic looking water. And so, you know, as I put my boat in, I'm thinking, Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, Lake Palestine. I mean, there's a ton of them that it looks like, and it was a great feeling. I knew we were gonna catch some fish.
From Mexico to Louisiana, the Red River down to the Laguna Madre, Texas is one big playground. Join professional bass fisherman and 3-time FLW Angler of the Year, Clark Wendlandt, as he takes you on some of the best outdoor adventures the Lone Star State has to offer. This is Fishing and Hunting Texas.
So my very first thought is, when I got there, is that let's idle around. Let's see how deep this grass grows. You know, you see a little bit of matted stuff, but it's not like the mat goes way out to the middle. And so as we get there, we start idling around. I start seeing grass in 15, 16, 17, even 18 feet. And I even found some clumps out in like 22 feet of water. Well, what I usually start when I'm fishing this way is if I'm gonna vertically fish, and the way that we started fishing was flipping a jig, what I really like to do is start towards the outside edge of the grass. It's the deep summer, it's hot as it can be, and that's a lot of times that deepest water they can be in that grass is a lot of times where they position themselves. And so I basically just got on the outside of a, you know, more or less a main lake point and just started flipping. And so as we start flipping, it wasn't very long goes by and I get a bite. Well, when I set the hook on the fish, I totally missed him. I mean, I just aired whiffed him. I mean, you know, for no other reason more than likely that he just spit the bait out. Get in here, that was really cool. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that. I get a bite all the way down on the bottom, one thumps it. So like about a 2-pounder. And I miss him. And so I reel up real fast to try to get my bait back down there. I probably should have just dropped it back. And a whole school of about 20 bass come up. So I just dropped my bait straight down right there and caught this one. Now, there wasn't any real big ones in there, but there was a lot looked just exactly like that one. First fish of the day. You know, when you're starting out, everything you do is right because you have no idea. It may be the totally wrong time of year for what you pick, but it doesn't matter. It's wherever you got the most confidence. And so, you know, I jump up and throw topwater, I sit out and fish a jig. I'm gonna just keep bouncing around until I get a bite. Until I get a bite, I have no idea what's really happening. Get in here. That's a better one. There's my second bite. Black and blue, hack attack, heavy cover jig. That fish thumped it and I set the hook and I guess I jerked him up off the bottom. I mean, it kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but that's awesome. I'm gonna hit spot lock, stay right there.
Stand by for more bass catching action on Brandy Branch Reservoir.
As people who love the outdoors, we know what we stand for. We stand for fish, wildlife, and conserving the places they call home. We stand for the traditions we inherited and that we must pass on. We stand for great gear, fair prices, expert service, and memorable experiences. At Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, we stand together for you.
Groundbreaking designs, unsurpassed quality, and unshakable confidence. Welcome to the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series. Leading the industry for over 50 years, these rigs are custom crafted and loaded with more features and advantages to deliver the ultimate ownership experience. The legendary Ranger Z Series. Unleash next level performance. Evinrude E-Tech. Spend more time on the water.
Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. And by Garmin. Fight your fish, not your fish finder. We're back in deep East Texas on Brandy Branch Reservoir. Let's join Clark as he continues to figure out a lake he's never fished.
You know, Brandy Branch was a really cool lake. Had deep water, had shallow water, had tons of timber and lots of grass. And to me, that's an indication that a lake's gonna have some good fish in it. The cool thing about vertical jigging is usually when you catch a fish, it's gonna be a good one. Oh, get in here. That's awesome. 3 fish. Now it's starting to roll right now. I've gotten on the very edge outside of this deal, which was what I would think. That's a good fish right there. I still want bigger, but man, I mean, the pattern's kind of starting to come together, outside edge of the grass, hack attack, heavy cover jig. I mean, we'll probably try some different baits, but I don't know that we need to. You know, one of the big keys whenever you get a bite, whether it's vertical jigging grass or whatever you're doing, one of the big keys is figuring out how fast it drops off that. Because if it's a slow drop, then you want to know that so you can find more of it. If it's a really quick drop off that grass, or how close is it to the edge, or how high that grass comes up there. All of those are keys and things that hopefully can tell you maybe where you'll get your next bite. That's a good one there. That's awesome. That's a good one. You know, we just pulled up on this spot, and literally that's about my 3rd or 4th flip. I was coming up to the grass line easy. I went by and saw the grass line actually on my side view. When I'm looking over on the side view, and I could see it, and it made a big old point. So I didn't even have to idle over it, and bam. You know, when I used to fish deep grass, I didn't have near the tools that I've got now. Garmin has given me electronics that let me see what's out in front of me, what's to the side of me, and great mapping. So I've got all that to go. And the cool thing is, when you're vertically fishing and you don't know exactly where the grass goes, you've basically got to use all that to see it. I look down, I start with my chart. So I've got great mapping, but that only gets you so far, because sometimes I can have a contour line in 18 feet, but the grass actually doesn't grow in a certain place because it's rocky, or there's some other reason why it just didn't grow. So I start with my mapping, and then I use traditional sonar and clear view, and I look at both of them to know how high the grass comes up and if I'm in grass or if I've got outside the grass. The other thing I use is side view. Side view looks out to the right or left from my trolling motor, and I know at any time that there's maybe a clump of grass out where there isn't any grass, or if the grass line is actually receding, starting to recede a little bit, so that I need to start moving my track a little bit to the right. And then the great thing is that Panoptics, that's the topper. With Panoptics, I look out in front of me. So I can just scan out in front of me and see where that grass line goes. If there's a clump that sits a little bit out, if I need to pitch a little bit right or a little bit left. And this particular day, all of our bites came really close to the outside edge. So knowing where you were in relation to the edge of the grass was a huge key. That's pretty awesome. I pull up on this spot, I idle a little bit. Whoa. I idle a little bit and pitch, first pitch, and bam. 4.5 pounder, that's pretty awesome. And now what I'm hoping is that it won't be the only bite here. You know, we've worked our way back into a kind of a big timbered bay, and you know, timber is synonymous with East Texas bass fishing. You always think of kind of timbered places, Rayburn, Toledo Bend, Palestine, Bob Sandlin. I mean, there's a bunch of them. That's a good one, sucker. He barely even fights, but he's trying. Oh, look at that fish. The thing about it is, he's not all that heavy, but look at the mouth. I mean, that's a good one. That's awesome. We've worked our way kind of into a kind of a big timbered bay. Real flat right here, so we're gonna punch around, needle around, and see if we can get another one. That's awesome.
Stay tuned, things are just heating up on Fishing and Hunting Texas.
You sons of fishes. Ain't enough fish on this lake for 2 clubs.
Really? Well, we see plenty of fish live with Panoptics.
Yep. Dang, we should get Panoptics. Or maybe we'll just take yours.
What's going on here? You boys have license?
Yes, sir.
Nope. There he is.
Oh, I got it.
This portion of Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you by Strike King, owner, Perfection in Hooks, Sawyer, we keep you outdoors, and by TH Marine.
Hey, we drove 5 hours to get here. Brandy, Branch, Reservoir. We caught them good yesterday. We thought, man, we can't just go with just half a day of fishing. Came back out to see if we can catch another big one. You know, one thing about topwater is a lot of times when I get on places that are really calm, you know, it's just so calm out here right now, you can bring fish up from a really, really long distance. On my home lake, Lake Travis, I brought them up 20, 25, even 30 feet deep from where they're actually sitting. And so, you know, when you get really calm water and you see a few busts, a lot of times just throwing a topwater out there, working it, you can get one to bite. There's one. Cool. You know, a lot of times on these grass lakes, East Texas, you'll get some schooling activity, and it's dead calm right now. And we got out here, and all of a sudden, you know, I saw a couple blow up. Michael saw a couple blow up, and we stopped, and shoot, that's a good fish. 3.5, 3.25 pounder. That's awesome. You know, what happens when you think they're gonna break is your head is basically on a swivel. You're sitting there and you're trying to pay attention to every little thing, a little sound you might hear. And the way this is, I've had a couple of bites just on, I've just seen one little shad or a little ring, you know, happen. And I've even had a couple of bites just throwing out there. I hadn't hooked them all, but at least there's some activity out here in the middle right now. He got it good, man. That's awesome. That's a good fish. Totally inhaled that plug. I want to show you this real quick. Bait down in there as good as it can get. That's awesome. That's a chunk. You know, the thing you got to do when you're out, you know, you're out flipping this time of year, any time just about you're fishing this time of year, you got to have a bait ready for schooling fish, because it's not going to be on every lake, but any clear water lake this time of year, those shad will start kind of pushing up. Water quality might not be quite as good, and you can catch some really nice fish on top if you're just ready. Good fish right there. Oh, look how fat this guy is right here. That's awesome. I was worried because we were flipping grass right there. We had just pulled up on that point, and when we started flipping, all of a sudden they come up. That's a good one. That's fat. That's awesome. Started flipping, they come up, and then I thought I threw my bait where they were, but the problem is there's so much scum that's kind of floating around. There's no wind right now, and so that scum just kind of floating. I got him. That's awesome. You know, one thing that happens when you're fishing anytime, anywhere, is sometimes you just get into a little bit of a streak of losing fish. And you know, losing fish for me isn't all that fun, especially when I'm trying to film a show or maybe in a tournament. I mean, I need every single fish to come in the boat, because even though I got the bite and I set the hook and I got to fight it, when I lose it, you don't get to see it as well, and maybe I don't get to weigh it in. So losing fish is one of those things that just drives me bananas. And a lot of times it's just not your fault when you lose one. I mean, you do everything right. That hook just hooks kind of in a little piece of skin on his mouth. I mean, you can't place the hook exactly where you want it to be. If everyone went through the roof of the mouth, you wouldn't hardly lose any fish. But sometimes the jig turns a certain way or he bites it a certain way. You just barely hook him. And when that happens, sometimes you're apt to lose him. And this particular day, I lost a bunch. Still got him. Look at that. He got balled up in all that grass. He wants to jump, but he just can't. I mean, I just want to touch one of them. I lose them and lose them and lose them. God.
Clark will be right back to wrap things up in Brandy Branch Reservoir.
I love being out here on the tour. It's all about chasing the unseen in the toughest conditions. My gear is my edge, my advantage. It's what keeps me at the top of my game. Year after year.
Wiley X, with removable gaskets to block wind, dust, and peripheral light.
Approximately 30,000 cases of Lyme disease happen each year in the United States. The main culprit, ticks. Stop and kill ticks in the outdoors with Sawyer's permethrin insect repellents. Sawyer, we keep you outdoors.
This portion of Fishing and Hunting Texas is brought to you in part by Engel Coolers, the original high-performance cooler. Sunline, the strength to guarantee your confidence. And by Outdoor Action. Watch the outdoors anytime.
I want to talk about our tackle setup on Brandy Branch Lake. You know, the cool thing about it is a lot like what I remember fishing on Rayburn and Toledo Bend. Deep grass, vertical fishing. It's got the timber, it's got the grass. You know, deep hydrilla like that, a lot of times it can grow out as deep as 25, even 28 feet. This grass grew anywhere from 16 to 18 feet, and it's probably progressing out. It'll get even deeper. But a vertical presentation, because those fish are going to be sitting up there, is the best way. I picked a Strike King Hack Attack heavy cover jig. This is a 1 ounce. I threw 1.25 ounces a little bit. You look at my box here, I've got just all the different colors that I like in a 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce, and 1.25 ounce jig. That's my big jig box. I've got my Rage Craws, the colors that I really like, which are the green pumpkins and the black and blues and the Okeechobee Craws. Those are the colors that I really feel like I'm gonna fish in that. So those are the ones that I have confidence in and that I bring. As far as my line goes, I'm using Sunline FX2. This is 60-pound test. You know, braided line makes a huge difference in that vertical flipping. You actually get a bite and you can get them up out of there quick. They don't get down in that grass and get hung up. I love catching fish in a vertical presentation. You're not gonna get all of that many bites most of the time. You know, sometimes you can really catch them good, but a lot of times it's good, solid fish. And if you saw what we caught today, anywhere between 3, 5.5, 6 pounds, those are the kind of fish that I love to catch. Good one. Oh, get in here. That's fun. Good quality fish. Every bite we've had, maybe except one, has been a good one. That's awesome. I've noticed over time, when you're fishing grass and you're fishing a grass line, whether you're in the middle of it, on the outside edge, on the inside, when you get a bite, a lot of times you may not be in the middle of where that school is, but you may be kind of on the outskirts, or there may be some more fish in that area. So always, it seems like to me, a bite makes you slow down and fish an area much, much more thoroughly. We've gotten to a little flurry right here. Found a kind of a point, and I'm really just kind of, look at the size of that guy. That's awesome. Now here's the deal. We've just kind of got on this point, and I'm just kind of going around and round, and a lot of times you've got to take your time. It's great on these calm days. That's awesome. Oh, get up here. That may be the smallest fish we've caught. I'll tell you what, you know, there are small lakes that are awesome all over this state. And you get the opportunity, try one of these little lakes. I mean, Brandy Branch, I never even heard of it. I got a tip that you can catch some fish there, or it has good fish in it. And man, that's pretty awesome. You know, if you get the opportunity, check out our website, like us on our Facebook page, message us, let us know where you'd like to see us fish all around this great state. We'd love to hear from you.